Yes, hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Samrack Media. And it was a short notice, but we'll continue. Thank you, everyone who has logged in. I hope you guys can all hear me. We'll just jump into the debate or the discussion. It's a Monday night. I know most of you are ready to go to bed. We'll not keep you for long, but we'll be straight to the point. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome everyone to this panel discussion. Our guest tonight is Honorable Mheshimiwa Nderitu, all the way from Kenya. She's the Registrar of Political Parties in Kenya. That's a huge title, Registrar of Political Parties in Kenya. This is an election year. So she has all the answers on her fingertips. She's very articulate. I've watched her various media channels, Citizen, KTN, Jeff Koinange and other people, other journalists. And she's very articulate, and she has, trust me, she has most of her answers at her fingertips. My first question to our guest is just give us a brief introduction of yourself, preferably what you're doing here in the States. Is it official? Is it holiday? And if it's holiday, what are you doing here on an election year? Tell us how many days to the elections, what preparations you have made as a registrar in terms of the elections. Are we ready for the elections? The other question is just a brief introduction, and then we'll jump into a few questions, and then we'll open the panel for everyone to ask any questions. We'll not have it, we are not affiliated to any political parties. Even if I'm wearing blue, Azimio, it doesn't mean that I'll be asking Azimio questions. But I'll be glad to know the fate of our friend Kalonzo and other issues that are affecting the Kenyan political climate right now. Karibu sana, Madam Nderitu. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting me this night. And I want to really appreciate Samrack Media for reaching out, and especially when it's a night that people are just about to go to sleep. This is sacrifice, yes, even on the part of the people who are joining in.
Yes.
As you have rightly said, my name is Nderitu. I am the Registrar of Political Parties in Kenya. By profession, I'm an election practitioner, global trainer in matters elections, and very passionate about good governance, and very happy that we have made significant strides in democracy and governance in our country. I believe we are progressing on well. We are not yet there, but we have made some strides towards the right direction. I had an institution called the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. This is a state office that is independent and has three major mandates. The first mandate is to register political parties. The second mandate is to regulate political parties' activities. And the third mandate is to administer political parties' fund. These are broad mandates, but there are about 11 functions associated to that office and the mandate, but all of them geared towards regulating politics in general through good governance of political parties and the manner in which Kenyans are able to participate in election through the vehicles of political parties. The Office of Registrar of Political Parties was established 2007. As you are all aware, before 2007, political parties used to be registered under the Societies Act. And the Registrar of Societies, of course, was hosted in the office of the Attorney General. And for the longest time since independent, that's where registration used to happen until 2007, when the Political Parties Act, the first act, was enacted. It was operationalized in July 1st, 2008. And from then, if you remember, that was around the time that then we had one of our dark history in our democracy, which is the post-election violence. Then the ECK then was disbanded, but this office was hosted as a department under the ECK. The fact that it was not operational during the elections, the office was saved by Parliament, and it remains under ECK. But around 2011, just to give a brief of, so that we give the context of where you are coming from, around 2011, the thinking after that post-election violence and the saving of the office from being disbanded when the ECK was being disbanded, I think a debate came around in Parliament again. And there was an opinion that the Office of Registrar of Political Parties needed to be independent from the Electoral Commission for purposes of governance of political parties and separating the issues of politics and political parties with the Electoral Commission, so that the work of the Electoral Commission become purely to manage processes that touches directly on election, and the Office of Registrar separated to deal with all matters dealing with political parties and politics forming, political formations, so that then by the time formations happened and everything happened, then the next level is to hand over to the Electoral Commission, then to conduct election. That's how then the Act 2007 was repealed to become Political Parties Act 2011. And the Political Parties 2011, it's the act that we actually practice even today. Of course, it has undergone a few formation. It was refilled. It was revised. Just a small review in 2016, another small review in 2017, but a major review again in 2022. And all of you, because you reason and you follow politics, you know that there was a debate of the Political Parties Act 2022, Amendment Act 2022, that brought a lot of discussions and debate, and they centered around the Office of Registrar of Political Parties and the issues that really touched on good governance of political parties. Top on the agenda of that amendment was to focus on party nominations and to probably regulate and put in place some mechanisms that will ensure some level of openness and some more level of accountability on part of the political parties when it comes to nominations. And then in a nutshell, it brought on focus the fact that political party nominations should have different operations from a point of openness, that citizens should know when parties are holding their party nominations in terms of date. They should know how, which method they shall use. They should know who should conduct those nominations, and they should know where. So the Act answered a few of those questions: the who, the how, the when, and the where, and in terms of party nominations, and give even the methods, diversified the method of how a political party can hold party nomination. Another important fact is that the Act introduced the coalition party. This was a new entrance into the Act, and I think it's not found anywhere else in the world. Kenyans are people of first, and we wanted to solve a political problem our own style. we wanted to be the benchmark after that on party nominations and coalitions, and the best that we know how, and solve our problem, our own style, without necessarily copying solutions elsewhere, which may not necessarily relate to us. And I think we want to say that Parliament looked at the issues that were presented, and they thought that is a good law. So the law passed, and that is what we have been implementing together with the other act. So the act has really undergone quite a significant reform. And I want to say that that then brings the question, what have we been doing all this time in terms of the question that you have raised in terms of preparing political parties? The first thing was to really help political parties underscore the importance of good governance and better arrangement within political parties, and trying to support them to comply with the law, including the Amendment Act, which brought on board several of those amendments as far as party nominations are concerned. We have in total 88 registered political parties, one of them being a coalition political party. And the difference between a party and a coalition political party is that the coalition political party is parties that comes together to form a coalition, but now it is registered as a political party. There's also the coalition of parties without necessarily having to be registered as a party. The ordinary coalition, the way we knew them, like NASA, like CORD, like Jubilee Coalition, the coalitions that have been there before, those are still there. In total, we have about 5 coalitions that have been filed with the Office of Registrar of Political Parties, including that one coalition political party. So that we have seen significant growth within political parties and the thinking that goes around. And we have seen a lot of improvement as far as the issues of governance in relation to political parties. We may not be yet where we want to be, but significantly we are making progress in our democracy and political process. What is important around this time, and diaspora Kenyans, as a matter of fact, have a significant role to play in the political arena. First of all, is to ask ourselves as people living in this side of the world, what kind of Kenya do we want to see in the coming future? What is our contribution to that Kenya? And I want to note very significantly that Vision 2030 present 3 pillars. There's the economic pillar, there's the social pillar, and then there's the political pillar. Majority of the time, we are really, really concerned into putting a lot of energy in terms of support, even our monies, into the economic and social pillar. And I know diaspora contributes significantly to those 2 pillars. But we cannot quantify our contribution in our political pillar. And I want to say that all the other pillars can be rendered useless if we do not manage our political pillar correctly, because politics, and if we are unable to manage politics properly, then it can interfere with all the other pillars and bring them down. Therefore, I am submitting that it's important for any Kenyan to be concerned about our politics and wanting to do something to help to the extent that we are able to do so. In whichever way little that any Kenyan can do, so that our country continue to be stable politically. Nobody would want to go back to where we were, 2007. And our office has been very, very vocal about tolerance, political tolerance. We have been very vocal also about peaceful elections and wanting to do all that we can do. We do have a dialogue platform with all registered political parties and the IBC. Every other month, we meet together and we deliberate on the political process and how matters are going, and we share information across. We have a platform called Political Parties Liaison Committee that brings together all political parties and the IBC and the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. And we have dialogue to speak about how we want our country to be and exactly how we want to really talk about peace and peaceful elections and tolerance. And that we may be speaking different opinions in the political space, but we are all Kenyans and we must remain as one before and after elections, and that the elections are not supposed to divide us, but probably to just identify who is going to lead us in the next phase, but not to bring us down or divide us. And I can say that there's a lot of goodwill by the politicians, the lead politicians, their commitment to keep peace. We have seen them condemn violence. We have seen them condemn hate speech. We have seen very serious discussion on any words that can stir peace and not make us work together as a country. So even as I speak, and I'm here around the US, of course, I'm here, first of all, officially, to do a few official duties around in 1 or 2 states. But then it's also good to hear from what Kenyans in diaspora are saying. This evening, earlier in the evening, I held a meeting with a group also across the American states, and we discussed about engagement and how diaspora people can, led by Sam Oswald, the chair of Diaspora Alliance, if you know him. And we really discussed on the issues of how does the diaspora then come in. And one of the issues that we said is information sharing. There's nothing as destructive as gaps information, because it creates room for propaganda, guessing and second guessing, and misinterpretation and misrepresentation of facts that then resort to suspicion. And people believe there's something that is being done behind the curtains, when in reality, the people working in that behind the curtain are really struggling to make our country better and our country stable, so that accusation and counter-accusation to the duty bearers become the norm. And then they affect the people who are bearing that duty, because they feel demoralized. They think that something can be done, and they require support more than they require condemnation, because they are Kenyans trying to do their best. So what we agreed, and I think that's what I want to say even in this meeting, is that we need to continue working together, especially on the part of civic engagement and information sharing, so that by so doing, we cross over the information gaps that can be there and can make Kenyans really doubt each other and try to speculate, and then the wrong information then spill over, and a fight and intolerance can arise as a result of that. But when we continue filling the gaps, even about the electoral process, about the political processes that are there, and talking to each other on tolerance and the issue of sharing opinion, and that our opinion really matter, but then even the other person's opinion also matter, and how do we meet together so that we make our Kenyan better. So I want to stop there so that I allow probably an engagement from your part, but that is our office. And I think I want to say that the Office of Registrar has one head office. We have about 100 staff. We have 7 satellite offices across the country. We have established a few more others, about another 5. We are supposed to be in 47 countries. We will establish as funds are getting availed. But I want to say that this office was delinked from the Electoral Commission in 2015. So we are about 7 years. So the growth is good. And you build an institution slowly by slowly, and we have seen significant growth as we continue. So I want to thank you most sincerely as I wait to engage with a few questions that may arise. Thank you very much.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa. That was a good detailed introduction. And as I mentioned earlier, very articulate. And actually, you've been there as a lady. I feel proud that it's not just the gentlemen who are just leading in the political arena. My first question, and then I'll open to the other panelists, is recently we had a lot of complaints that some people found their names registered in parties they do not know. And then that leads to my other question is, how secure is our data? How secure is our ID, our addresses? And I'm sure in the Kenyan government, they have the Data Protection Act. How is your office protecting our information? The second question that I have, do you guys, you mentioned we have 88 political parties. Are they funded? Who funds them? The other question I have is, how easy or hard is it to form a political party? The other question from Mike is, can Diaspora legally form a political party that is registered in Kenya? The other question that I have in mind is, we had a lot of back and forth by Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. He's in Azimio, he wants to move away from Azimio. Then the court had to come in, or he cannot move. Then now he has to appeal back again, he wants to go back to Azimio. It's very confusing. How can you harmonize that issue? And then I'll ask our...
Maybe you allow me to answer those ones because I'm not writing.
Okay, very good, okay. Then we'll open it to the panelists, yeah, the other guys.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think I will start by that one of whether Diaspora can form a political party and how easy is it then to form a political party.
Yes.
First of all, the provisions of the Political Parties Act 2011 provide the manner in which you register a political party. The timelines there goes up to 9 months from the day you start, the day you finish, if you work everything according to the speed provided in the act. But from experience, I've seen it takes in the least 1 year, 2 months to register a political party in the least. But I've seen Kenyans going up to 2 years because part of the part that is a bit hard, apart from when you want to register a political party, you start by founder members, 3 or so. Then you write your constitution, you look for a name, look for a symbol, and then registrars approve. Then you write your constitution and your nomination rules. There's a lot of back and forth before the constitution meets the threshold that has been read there. But if you have a good lawyer or you are a good writer yourself, within the next 1 month, you're able to finish that. Then you are given a provisional certificate once you meet the basic requirement. The other requirement is that you should register at least 24,000 members for it to be recognized as a political party. That means more than half of the counties in Kenya. So in other words, forming a political party is not easy but doable, and it's achievable because that's how we have achieved. Since 2017, there have been about 19 political parties that have been registered. So the speed in which, but applications are in their thousands. We have over 5,000 or so applicants, Kenyans who want to register political parties. but the stringent manner in which a party is registered then resort to them trickling in one by one as the registration happen. We have Kenyans in their 1,000 applying for names. About, like last year, we had about 700 Kenyans. This year and part of last year, about 700 Kenyans applying to register political parties. But over time, since last election, you find about 5,000 Kenyans expressing some interest to register a political party. And then about 700 all along trying to then register in 1 year. That means there's a lot of interest in registration of political parties. And it's the right of Kenyans to do so, but within the law. That's why we are a bit very cautious on implementation of the law. As to whether Kenyans in the diaspora can register a political party, the Act does not allow a segment of the society to own a political party. A political party should have a national character. That national character includes different ethnic groups. It includes people who are young, others who are old, minorities, marginalized, and then you must register in at least 24,000 counties, open offices in 24,000 counties. So it is not possible for you to register as diaspora a party because of those stringent requirements. But you can join other Kenyans, and then you have a lot of voice in the party that it is registered, but registered with a national character. So it's possible on one way that you can join other Kenyans, but purely as people in diaspora, it is not possible. The second question was about the membership and data protection matters. This is a question that we have really tried to address ourselves to, but we want to note that the data that we have been talking about has undergone a lot of reform. We have done a lot of systems, digital systems and digital processes to allow data protection and especially consent for a Kenyan who want to be registered, who really should be registered in a political party. First, the data is as old as 1960 when parties started registering. So even as we hosted, there are significant number of Kenyans due to the formation of that data. Parties, as you know them, keep changing names from one name to another. Others merge. And I give an example for the Jubilee merger that happens in 2017. That merger resulted to about 10 parties being collapsed into one. That is a merger. And that merger means that Kenyans who really registered in one party may find themselves now in a party of the merger, because once a merger happened, the other party ceases to be, but the register and the membership register of parties that you existed become membership register of the merger party. So that in itself gives you the view that you may find yourself in a party. Probably you think you never registered, but you registered and through another party, and then a merger happened, then become that. And those are the issues that we want to address as we go along, so that there's a significant way of looking at mergers, so that Kenyans who really do not want to move to the new party, then there's something that can be done. But to cut the long story short, in 2021 November, the Office of Registrar launched the register into the e-Citizen platform, so that any Kenyan can check his or her membership status. And first of all, apart from seeing your status, you're able to resign from any party that you do not wish to continue in the process of cleaning up data. Then you're also able to register through the same system to a party that you want to go and you wish to belong. later, in around February this year, or earlier, I think around January, we launched the USSD code in Kenya, where you could also check your status or resign from a party, so that the party that you do not wish to belong, then you resign from that party. Through those two processes, we saw over 2 million Kenyans leave political parties. They thought either they never wish to continue belonging, or the ones that they perceived that they were registered without their consent. That was part of cleaning up the process. After that, we put in a system that for you to be registered in any party, a message will always come to your phone seeking your consent. And it asks you to agree, all disagree, all decline to be registered. Once you decline, nobody then can put you there. So one of the issues is reform around the register to allow it more accessible to Kenyans, and so that a person can join or leave a party at wish, and also be able to not be registered again, really, without his consent. We know, and we try to address all the issues that Kenya raised then, and reform starts somewhere. And I think that is one of the issues we have taken very seriously in regards to data protection. Then the other question that you asked is about the coalition. The issues of coalition are governed by Section 10 of Political Parties Act, Section 11, and then Schedule 3. We have Section 2 on coalition political party, and others within the Political Parties Act. And a coalition, whether it's a coalition political party or a coalition in its ordinary form, is formed by willing parties who come together, sit and agree on their way of operation, and they sign an agreement. And that agreement legally is binding. It's binding by provisions of the Political Parties Act. That once you enter into agreement, then you should really adhere to the provisions of that agreement. And Schedule 3 of Political Parties Act is very clear that an agreement should actually provide for the manner in which a person join a political party, and the manner in which a party join a coalition, and the manner in which a party can exit a coalition. That means that as a Kenyan, you should be aware that a coalition joining by a party and coalition leaving, exiting from a coalition, is governed by the coalition agreement itself, because it's a self-regulating process. So when you talk about the issue of wiper party, it's the decision of the party whether they want to remain in Azimio or not. Once they make up their minds, then they address themselves to the process of leaving, because the agreement itself provides the manner in which a political party is able to exit a coalition agreement. And once they exit through this process provided, then there's no need why they cannot be able to leave. But the most significantly is to address the process in which, the manner in which they agreed and signed into, that this is the manner in which they shall leave. They shall exit the coalition agreement. If they want to negotiate and remain, I think it's purely a decision of the party. What should be noted is that politics is about negotiation and discussion. And if individuals and parties are allowed to have that discussion, and the latitude is there to the extent that they can be able to discuss and agree. And that's a space that we have given ourselves as a country. So that, to me, I do not think there's any confusion. Those are discussion, they are political discussion. It's a party trying to negotiate itself and get the best deal for itself and its members. So it's allowed in law for those negotiations and those people coming together, having different opinion, and finally agreeing in the manner in which a party would want to sit in, either leave, sit in a coalition or want to leave, then it's purely the decision of the political party. But then the law is that you should follow the process by which the coalition agreement provides and the political parties act, among other laws. Remind me the other question. I think I've answered the main three.
I think we are okay. I think we're good. You answered most of them. My other question that I have is, sometimes we hear dead people vote or something like that. How do you guys, or how is your office, how does it clear like someone who passes away, just in case like IEBC does not end up using their names or their information as voters? How do you maintain the credibility of the actual number of people who have voted or who have registered these parties, so that their data or information is not used to change things towards the end as voters?
First of all, I think Kenyans, people die every day. So even on election day, there are people who are actually in the voters register, who will have all the intention to vote, but by the nature of God, they may not be able to wake up and vote. So they will actually not be there. So the process of cleaning the register, it's a continuous process. The person who holds the data of people who are no longer with us, who have departed, is the Registrar of Births and Deaths. And that is the data that you can say, this is the official data that you can use to clean up the register. And it's always important for Kenyans to know that electoral process in itself has, even our own register, we use still the data of Registrar of Births and Deaths to try and create the parties register and all that. And that is the official report. If you get another report from anywhere else, and I'll tell you the data, because I told you I'm an electoral practitioner, having worked in the Electoral Commission for 10 years plus. So I'm very clear that I've seen all those processes happening. That if you attempt to get data from elsewhere, you are likely to find that people who are recorded elsewhere as dead may not necessarily be dead, because there are people who probably went to correct the people who had died. They are the ones who are holding the IDs of the dead. So they went and registered who is this person collecting the body of the dead, and who is really getting the license of the burial permit and all that. So some records end up recording you who is processing the issue of burial permit and death as the one who is dead. So that you can remove a person who is actually alive. That's why the institution responsible for births and deaths then should be the only credible source of that kind of data. Whether they have all the information of every person who dies across the country, that is another question altogether. But what is important is that cleaning of data is a continuous process, because people die every day. But in question of voting is done through biometric identification, meaning that a person must come to the polling station and put your fingerprint for purposes of voting. So even if there could be a few people in the register who are dead, then it means those people are not able to wake up and vote, because a person must be identified electronically and biometrically, so that your biometrics is what really give you the license to vote. If you do not have, you don't appear, and then your fingerprints and all is not taken, then it means that you are unable to vote. It's only a few exceptional cases which are already recorded, especially person living with disability. Maybe somebody burnt his hands and all that, and then you are not, but they are recorded in the register as people for special consideration. But basically, I think significantly the electoral process have cleaned up majority of those issues by making it but identification biometrics, by biometrics, make it that it is you who have come to the polling station to vote. And that's in spite of the few cases that could still be in the register and dead. It means that then you are able to address the question of who really is the voter and who voted in a particular election.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that is usually true. We start, like looking at the last election, we started electronically, but for some reason we switched back to manual voting, and that's where the danger lies when we switch back to the manual voting. But I hope with the advanced...
Really, that one I want to correct you.
Okay.
At no point in 2017 did we switch to the manual voting. That was 2013.
Correct.
And those were teething problem then, because we are starting that technology. 2017 voting was biometrics 100%.
Very good.
We never had any manual voting.
Okay, very good. The panel is open for questions. You can just jump in and ask your question respectfully. Karaoke, you have a question? Very good presentation, Mheshimiwa. Any questions from the panelists? Michael Ndongo?
No, I think there's a question on the chat that wasn't answered.
On the chat, eh?
Yeah.
You can ask it.
When will Diaspora, is it that one? Or can Diaspora legally?
Yes,
That one I answered.
Okay, when will Diaspora, especially in USA, be able to register as voters continually in our respective states? Yes.
Okay, one, I know that you know that we, for the first time, the services of voter registration were brought to the US. It used to only be in East Africa. And I think IBC have grown those services beyond East Africa to capture, among others, UK, US, Germany, Canada, South Africa, and others. In US specifically, I think there are 3 stations. There's Washington, DC, there's New York, and Los Angeles. And across now, this period, IBC is asking Kenyans to do voter verifications, where you go and verify that your details are correct in readiness for voting. The question of all the states, that is a debate that has to relate also with availability of funds. What I can tell you, it's extremely very expensive to bring the services of registration physically abroad. And unless we think probably on issues of maximizing the 3 that have already been set, so that there's a bit of sacrifice on Kenyans who are living in diaspora, so that we are able to save costs. Because if we say every state, unless we have a system that it's online in nature, it can become very expensive to be able to register every Kenyan physically abroad and in every state to open a station. I think it's a bit can actually be very costly. The other concern is that the uptake of even the services that are being provided. We know that there's very many Kenyans abroad, but you hear like a station like Washington, DC, it's about 200 and something Kenyans, below 300 Kenyans who are registered as voters there. So the opportunity cost then arises. And I think one of the issues to demonstrate that there's also value in terms of Kenyans coming out, then to even inspect the register as it is, for purposes of showing that really Kenyans are actually on top of things in terms of participation is concerned. But it's a good idea, but it is important to note that it's quite expensive to register Kenyans abroad. So it is important to uptake the 3 stations that have already been provided.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Sam, Santi, Mheshimiwa, I think I am the one who had asked that question. I'm one of the people that went to New York to register to vote. And I can tell you that it's extremely expensive extremely expensive on my side. We had to almost a whole day driving almost 4 hours to New York and another 4 hours back to the Massachusetts. While in Massachusetts, we already have a few, maybe, I don't know how many people, but maybe 10, 20,000 people who could benefit of the same. So, and my question, in the past, maybe the embassy had brought the issue of the IDs, to register the IDs, and they were coming to respective, like in the New England area, they can cover Massachusetts, Connecticut, and they can cover New Hampshire, where all the people can converge in the same area, closer to where they live. But right now, going to New York or going to the DC or going to Los Angeles, it's number one, very expensive, and it's most of us are very, very busy. So it's costing us a whole day, but I had to make that sacrifice, for my own reasons. But how can we, I was seeing a situation whereby if you can have a mobile services, they can be moving from one place to another as compared to opening offices in every state. That way, at least we can cover maybe a group of states that are close to each other for the people to participate, because I think the people in diaspora are quite involved in terms of what's going on in Kenya, and we want to participate. But sometimes we are talking too much, we are getting involved in the politics, but we don't really have a vote. And it's really frustrating that maybe only 700 people in the whole of the US registered to vote, while we have maybe several 100,000 of people who can maybe participate in the same process. Yes.
No, I hear you, and our point is very valid, and your concern is very valid. And I think I don't want to attempt to speak on behalf of IBC, but I know for sure it's something that can be looked into in terms of trying to bring the services closer to the people. The manner in which then it's a debate for the next general election, which I think it's something that after evaluation of the performance, the Electoral Commission will, I know definitely, we always have been in elections. I know every electoral cycle, we do the review of the election that was and have lessons learned going forward for the following elections. But I totally agree that your point is valid in terms of bringing services closer to the people. And then the part of mobilization part of it, because I totally agree, like you did, driving 4 hours, with taking a whole day off so that you participate. Every Kenyan should have the burden of sacrifice, because it's another one thing. Indeed, even in Kenya, we have Kenyans who really, the polling stations is next door, but they don't feel like they want to register. Like now, I know that we were targeting back in the country about the target for the Electoral Commission was about 6 million. They ended up registering around 2 million or so. So meaning a total of 4 million Kenyans who have IDs and who are eligible for registration could not actually come out and go to the next door polling station and register. So I think I want to underscore your point, the level of sacrifice, the way a citizen should be willing to push himself or herself a bit, just a bit, so that you're able to really participate in our country, and you're able to be counted as people who really supported the democracy and the growth of a country, and especially the political pillar.
Weshima, there appears to be some level of secrecy in the coalition agreements among the parties. Is it something you can control? And a case in point is some politicians signed some of those documents, but they did not get the whole. And something else was registered, or something else, a different document was presented to your office that did not cover their part of bargain. So is it something you guys can control? Because I believe there's a lot of secrecy. A lot of people have walked away from coalition parties because they don't know what was submitted to your office. It's different from what they signed. So like the former Machakos governor, he said that whatever he signed was different, and a few other people.
One, I'm laughing because I know for sure the law of contract allows you to sign a document that you have actually read, and you remain with a copy. Anybody who signs a document remains with a copy.
Correct.
So that is why I do not want to say that the people saying that they do not have copies are not sincere in terms of saying that what they signed did not have a copy. Because you sign what you get a copy, and then you remain with that. That's why I do not believe there's any secrecy as far as the documents are concerned, because you are the owners of that document. And when you sign, then it means that you really have a copy of that document, really. And that's why to cure any political mischief, then you refer to the document that you signed and you agreed. Every document brought to the Office of Registrar of Political Parties is authenticated by a commissioner of oath. Every party signed in every page of that document. It does not only sign the dotted line, but every page is initialed, meaning that as you are reading and issuing every page, then that document cannot be changed, because nobody else will have the ability to initial every page under oath. And actually, the document is signed under oath. It's commissioned. So it means you sign it under oath, and you say that is to the correct of your knowledge, to the extent that of the information being correct, to the best of your knowledge, that is the information that you want, and you have committed to what you have signed. That's why the debate of secrecy is more of a political question than it is a legal question. And I think it's something then that the parties involved, and especially the coalition political party, then should be able to address with its members, because the law is very clear. Even the law of access to information is clear that the primary holder of the information should be the one to provide that information. You as the secondary holder, and in this case, the registrar is the secondary holder, then you provide once you are told the primary holder is not able to provide that information. So as far as the primary holder is able to provide, then you allow the primary holder to work with his members or her members, that is the constituent parties, to figure out how to really strengthen their coalition. Because I believe a political party is just like a family, especially a coalition. It's just like a family made of siblings, and those siblings, sometimes they may fight, they may differ in opinion. If you grew in a family, Samrack, and I know you did grow in one, you remember those moments that you could fight with your brother or your sister, but you remained a family. And if there was a person coming to attack your brother, in spite of how you have fought, you really have to fight the people who are intruders so that you remain together. And that's how a coalition should fight its own battles. I do not think any family wake up and because you are fighting, then you invite neighbors to see you fight. You try as much as possible to keep away even neighbors to know that you are actually fighting. And you try to amend all the fences. And I know the parties and the coalitions that we have are made up of seasoned and very mature politicians, and some of them very accomplished lawyers that are able to read between the lines in terms of the law and be able to bring people together and solve all the sibling differences that could be there inside a coalition and move the coalition to the next level. We are looking at those coalitions settling very fast so that they're able to organize themselves to finish the final leg of election. And I can assure you, we have very accomplished and very seasoned politicians in Kenya who are able to handle all those political processes and make the country settle. And some of those parties have very, 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 very strong and articulate and well-informed lawyers who are able to guide them.
Thank you. Timothy Kabere, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Nderitu. Yeah, I joined in late, and so if you already talked about this, just dismiss my question. But I was just wondering, are you concerned about the proliferation of small briefcase parties, like so many briefcase parties that don't really meet the threshold of political party? And if so, do you plan to like raise the benchmark, like the threshold for what you would really call a political party? Because we've seen so many political parties that wouldn't qualify for a political party anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah,
that's a question. Can I go ahead, Samrack?
Just go ahead. Yes.
One, in form of registration, and that's a good question. In form of registration, Timothy, there's no political party that is registered without meeting the requisite requirements as the provisions of the Act. Every political party must have at least 24,000 registered members, 1,000 in more than half of the counties, which is up to 24 counties. Every political party must have a governing body, which is gender compliance, have youth, have persons with disability. And every political party must have the different organs of a political party, like internal dispute resolution mechanism, must have the disciplinary processes that goes with that, must have elections boards, other particular organs of a political party that make what it means to be a political party. So from registrar's thinking, I do not think the fact that a party is not popular like the others qualified to be a briefcase party. The issue is probably we give them the room to grow and continue to institutionalize them, to become strong enough to be able to compete with others. Because the fact that they have met the basic requirement qualifies them to be a political party. And as an example, in this current parliament, the parliament that is outgoing, looking at from the county assemblies to the National Assembly to the Senate, we have a total of 43 political parties that have representatives. Some have many, others have few. But out of the 69 political parties that participated in elections 2017, 43 of them were able to have at least an elected member. That means they participated competitively in the election. So I do not think you can ignore any political party. If there's any breach on part of the political party, there are processes and mechanisms of sanctioning the political party, calling it to order in terms of compliance, and sometimes deregistering. In the last 2 years, we have deregistered 2 political parties for non-compliance issues. Once we are sure that they are not able to comply and we have really sanctioned and done what the act says that we do, then we go ahead and initiate the process of liquidation. And the process is long also. It takes about 9 months to register a political party because of the process of warning. You give sanctions until such a time you think that then it is no longer attainable to really for them to be able to respond. So really, it's also to give party room to grow and also support democracy and institutionalization of political parties, because we cannot reduce political parties without reference to the law. We must always refer ourselves to the law.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? The floor is open.
Yeah, this is Michael. One more time, Mr. Samrack, thank you very much for hosting Honorable and Nderitu, and this is a lot of information that we have heard from you, even on how to form political parties and that kind of stuff, and even the terms and what it takes to take it. I think I had only 2 questions that I just wanted to follow up. One, what is the cost from, if we wanted to form and we meet all the requirements, what would be the cost of forming one of the political parties? Second, do you as an organization regulate? Because we have had if you have to be a part of this and you have to be an MP of Chama, maybe you have to come up with $1 million Kenyan shilling. Do you guys regulate that, or how is that around that? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. I think in total, the amount of money you pay to the government of Kenya, of course, through the registrar, to the register of political parties for registration, you start by searching a name and a symbol. That will cost you 1,000 shilling. Then you come to provisional registration. It will cost you 100,000 Kenya shilling. Then it comes to full registration. It will cost you 500,000 Kenya shilling. So in total, we are looking at constantly, if you do not keep repeating the process, because sometimes if we are not able to finish and time elapses and you are not able to, you may be forced to really repeat the process here and there and maybe result in paying another extra 100. But if everything goes according to order, you are supposed to pay to the registrar a total of 601,000 Kenya shilling to the registrar. But of course, there are other costs that come in the process. For example, if you are doing recruitment, you are expected then to move to the field to recruit. These days, you have to create even systems for you to be able to recruit. You cannot just register without a system. You have to, we request you to look at the systems per se, so that in the system of registration, maybe you may want to engage an ICT expert to create a system for you that matches with our own system, because we are highly digital in the process. You also need a lawyer probably to write for you the constitution and all that. Then you roll out the recruitment of members. So there are other opportunity costs that come in the process, but the legal money that we are supposed to pay is 601,000 Kenya shilling, which you pay to the registrar of political parties.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think my last question is, and maybe this one might be look like so I've had other members of parliament creating political parties as a vehicle of an income Is that something that is true, or is that just a propaganda?
That is not the people. Kenyans, as you know, they are opportunists in every sector. There's people who abuse the process and speculative in every sector. There could be those, but in terms of law and every intention of that law, that should not be the case. And even the making of money, probably it's a legal means also, because if you are registering Kenyans for nomination, and you have already set up the nomination fee, and then these Kenyans are paying nomination fees to the party, I do not think that is an illegal means to earn money. And I don't think it's really earning money, but it's also trying to organize the political party and strengthen it in its structures to be responsive to the needs of Kenyans. But if any person take advantage of a process, it is not, it's exceptional, but not the norm. And it is not what the law and the institution that we lead, and even the political party process was meant to be.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Kenyans in diaspora in April, we sent over 42 billion shillings. And we don't feel like we are represented. Sometimes we're even double taxed, both here and also back home by the KRA. And what can your office do to help us feel part of Kenyans, or help participators, help us diaspora participate in the political development of Kenya, and especially in the democratic space, because we feel like we are paying taxes, we are Kenyans, but we don't even have a representative in parliament. Yet we are the ones who are sending all these 42 billion shillings in the month of April, for example. Before you answer this question, I'll also give an opportunity to Mr. Isaac. You can ask 1 or 2 questions, then you can answer the questions, then we call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Sam. Hello, Nderitu.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you are the big boss back Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got a question on how you register the political parties. And the question is, do you regulate who registers a party? Can anybody, let's say, do you do a background check on who is registering? Say, like, it could be a thief or anybody. Can anybody register a political party? Because I'm asking that in the end, when you talk of integrity, it starts probably with a party at the beginning. Do you have such regulation, you know, who to register and how do you do the background check?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. A good question also. Yes, the Political Parties Act provides that a person registering a political party must go through Chapter 6 requirement, the vetting part of it. And we have organs of government that do that. We work with them to provide information to us when we are registering political parties. You come, before you register political parties, you must be able to give, as founder members, you give the good conduct, and also we subject those documents to the relevant institution of government to try and give us reports concerning the individuals that are founder members, and later the officials of that particular political party. So yes, we have mechanism, and we have seen some of the parties. I said, I don't know whether Isaac you had joined, that in the last 1 year, we have seen about 700 Kenyans wanting to register applying and wanting to register political parties. Only less than 10 were able to go through. Some of the reason why some of those others were not able to go through is for the same question that you are asking. They were dropped along the way because they never met certain criteria. And I can tell you, sometimes it's not easy. Others, even now, they take us to court because according to them, we have infringed on Article 38 right of political association. But we also look at the bigger picture, even as we go to represent ourselves before judges, that we also have a role to ensure that the integrity of the process is also assured. It's not easy sometimes, even when you have gone so far, a court will give you an order and tell you that then you must continue with this registration. And then some of them we have gone even to the way of appeal. Due to our deep conviction that the integrity part of it and accountability on the part of people registering parties should actually be adhered to. So yes, we have a process by which we weed out the people we think through the government institution, not through us alone, that are probably that they do not meet the criteria required.
Thank you.
What was the last question? The one, how can we help the diaspora?
Yeah, we are participated a lot in the economy of Kenya, but we don't feel part of the political process, part of we have no space in the democratic space. What can the registrar of political parties do to help us? Because we are controlling the economy of Kenya. I think we contribute more than tourism. So I believe if we are included, Kenya would even grow further. For example, the question Mike was asking, how can diaspora register a political party? Or can we buy a political party that is already registered? Are there avenues where we can also do that?
We cannot say you can buy over a political party, but a party can change hands from one person to another through an arrangement where some officials then take over from former officials. We may not call that buying, but some arrangement. Then the others are able to vacate office for you, and then any person take. But as I said, it cannot be purely diaspora. You cannot say this is a party for diaspora, but maybe a party where diasporas the Kenyans living in diaspora can champion their right through, but it must have a mix. But probably one of the policies of that party should be championing the rights of Kenyans in diaspora as a policy of the said political party. So it's possible to do that, and even to take over an existing political party. And once you identify one, or you get help to identify some party that is willing to work with you, it's not necessarily taking over. They may be willing to adhere and agree to bring you on board in terms of articulating your policy through them, and then you have some officials working there. But one of the requirements is that a person who is of dual citizenship cannot be an official of a political party. So that's the other challenge that you may have as Kenyans living in diaspora, because the law is very clear that officials should be Kenyan citizens. And they should not be holding dual citizenship as far as officials are concerned. But in terms of championing the rights of Kenyans in diaspora, their parties, I think you can take over and have say and be able to champion your rights. So do you want such an arrangement or any help of that nature? I think our office can be able to help you identify such a political party, and you see that how that arrangement can work to be able to champion and talk about issues of persons living in diaspora.
Thank you. My final question, no other questions. Okay, David.
My question was about campaign financing or campaign funding.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of, I've had a lot of questions in terms of right now we are having all the campaigns going on. Does the political parties, the one that you represent, do we have a system in Kenya or a law in Kenya that tries to find out where the money that is funding this campaign is coming from? That is number one. And number two, which parties qualify to be given some money for their political activities once they are already registered?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. The question of political parties funding and campaign financing is a raw debate, raw in the manner that we have attempted as a country to put in place a campaign financing act, and that act became law in 2017. Before 2017, it was suspended by Parliament. 2022, the Electoral Commission made regulations to operationalize that act. Then Parliament said that those regulations came a bit late in the day, and in the same breath also suspended them. So we have a law and we have the process, but not fully operationalized to the extent that the law intended that operationalization to look like. In terms of then the role of the Office of Registrar of Political Parties, the issue of campaigning financing is purely an IBC affair. Our role is actually to look at regulating political parties' funds, especially money that are collected from their members, or they have gotten from a source to run the affairs of the political parties. It may be campaign financing, but then that money is coming through the political party itself. So we have a role with the Attorney General to look at the accounts of political parties. The Auditor General audits every year all accounts of political parties, especially the one that receive political parties fund. The Registrar maintain every quarter, every year they have to file the audited accounts to the Attorney General and to the Registrar of Political Parties. And we regulate the manner in which then those accounts are authentic, and we ask the relevant questions that need to be asked. Sometimes we do impromptu audits, depending on whether there's any reason to do so. Sometimes we do investigation invited by the members of public and members of the party who think that there's something that probably is not going on right in a party. And we do those investigations and then take the necessary action where action is required. But in terms of funding, the parties that qualify to be funded must meet the criteria set out in the Political Parties Act. The criteria has been repealed in this particular amendment that for a party to qualify, it is given proportionately. The money is given proportionately to the number of seats that a party garners. So the entry point is that a party should have at least some elected members. Whether it is 1, whether it is 10, then the money increases as per the number of seats Then the other criteria is that money also increases as per the number of votes the party garnered, proportionately represented as per the number of votes that a party have garnered in the last election. And finally, they also look at the number of special interest groups, women, youth, and persons with disability that a party has brought on board, as in regards to the elected persons from those different groups. So all that combined results now to a criteria of how we fund then political parties in the next cycle. In this cycle, there were parameters that were very stringent that used to be used, which we used after 2017, including that a party must have at least 40 MCAs, 20 MPs, 3 governors, 3 senators, among other things, and must have attained 3% of the votes. So all that combined in the last annual election, then it resulted only into 2 parties that were receiving political parties fund, only Jubilee and ODM in this cycle that we are concluding. So we hope with that expanded criteria, we shall have other parties benefiting, and then the competition of good governance then will become more, and then we shall see our democracy space growing. So for sure, the criteria is there.
Is the coalition going to affect this in any way?
If, as to the extent that the coalition agreement provides, if they provide that this is the manner in which they shall divide funds, then the registrar will go with the formula that they have provided.
Thank you very much for answering my questions.
Thank you.
Have a
Obed, last question.
Yes, please. I have 2 quick questions. And thank you, Anne. I want to appreciate you for doing a great job for our country, because some of us were here. We appreciate the work and finding time to be with us. I'm calling here from Ohio. My first question, you said about when you do background check for officials of the party, are you doing background for an individual or a group of people? And these officials, are these the people we hear about, the party leader, deputy party leaders, and all that? Are those different from the officials people who are registering the party? My second question is about people dual citizenship, here that they could not be holding positions in the party. And I don't know if you can expound a little bit about that, about people who are the citizen and the difference of party leaders and all that.
Okay. A person registering a political party is called a founder member. And a founder member, at least for you to register a party, you must have at least 3 founder members. These are the founder members that are in record, the one who are registering a political party. And those are the first people to go through vetting process. Later, the founder members bring in the officials, they expand themselves and they become now a governing body, whether it's a national executive council and all that. These ones, when they come on board, then they do self-declaration and also go through some level of vetting to ascertain that they meet some certain requirement. And then they are the one who now transit to become party leaders, secretary generals, and so on. But if in the course of duty, there's anything raised against some party members or party officials, then some of those matters are addressed even after the registration of a political party. Nothing stops from addressing matters that are raised by the members of public through an investigation and then tying that process to the extent of closing the matter and addressing the issues that have been raised. What was your second question, Ben?
The citizenship, that you should be a Kenyan in order to be a part of
to be a founder member. To be a founder member and an official of a political party, you must be a Kenyan citizen. Because the minute you can imagine the impact of a political party. So it is assumed that the fact that you can be an official means that actually you must then have some royalty to the country, and you are clear that it's the law that has been set like that. Not so. As far as you have already declared that you actually are a Kenyan, you are Kenyan and you hold another citizenship, then we allow you to be a member of a political party because you are a Kenyan citizen. But in terms of official, so that we are able to be accountable. Should there anything happen, you should be accountable, and we should be able to get you in Kenya, because one of the risks, if something happens in the political space and we are not able to get you, what Kenyans probably may need to know is that there's a lot of activities and regulation of activities or political parties that happens, especially with the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. Sometimes we have to really call the members. So if we are already living in another country and we are not able to get you and we are not able to ask you significant questions, then it becomes very difficult for you to manage. And I think that's what the law was curing, because a political process is heightened, has many activities, have many issues that must be processed, and a lot of accountability and responsibility to be taken on political processes. And I think that is where the law was coming from. But a Kenyan who is a Kenyan citizen can be a member of that political party. But being an official, that is where you must be not holding dual citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. I hope I'm not leaving out anyone. I said that was the last question.
I had a quick question. I think I raised my my hand. Give me just a quick second.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you want to be loud?
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yes.
And thank you for. I just wanted to do a follow up on the question that Obed asked, and my name is Pastor Esmond. I also live in Ohio, and I don't think mine is necessarily a question, but a challenge to look into the question of dual citizenship, the way you mentioned. Number two, I'm finding three things that probably are coming to me as a gap. Number one, you're saying that you have to be, you cannot have dual citizenship in order to be a founder member. So in this case, you are relying on self-declaration, because really, unless you point me to a different direction, is there a way to verify if, for example, I'm a founder member and I declare, say, I'm a Kenyan citizen, then it ends there. How would you verify that I'm a dual citizen? Unless, I mean, I don't know of another means of verifying unless you guide me in that direction. Then the second point that in your presentation that I thought is of interest to me in terms of that citizenship question is that it was meant to cure the situation of probably people have to be in the country in order to, you can able to reach out that. But obviously we know that there are people that live outside the country who are fully Kenyan citizens, and they actually don't have dual citizenship, even if they live outside the country. So how does that take care of that problem? So I just wanted to point that out to make sure that I understand that is there any way to verify if, for example, and I'm not saying that I don't expect someone in the diaspora to lie if they're dual citizen, then to say that they are not. But in the event there's any kind of mischievousness where somebody says, yeah, maybe ticks a point or maybe a checklist and says, yeah, I'm a Kenyan citizen, or doesn't check the box which says dual citizenship, is there a way of verifying? And the second point is that, yes, I'm a Kenyan citizen. I don't have citizenship of another country, but I don't necessarily live in Kenya, but I want to operate a political party. How does that work out? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think you are right to the extent that a Kenyan should declare when you are a person of dual citizenship, and that is the first difference. But it's also important to note that there are mechanisms through the various arms of government, of course, to establish if a Kenyan is a dual citizenship, hold a dual citizenship. Some of them, of course, by chance, others by pure investigation when we are doing the background check of that person through other government institutions. They may be by chance, we may not be accurate, but we are there. But we expect Kenyans to be honest, especially when you give you a self-declaration form under oath. Those forms, when you are filling them for registration of a political party, you fill them under oath. So it's only be out of order for any person to fill and lie under oath that they actually do not hold some dual citizenship when they do hold. So we expect that self-declaration and the filling of those forms under oath, you should be able to definitely speak the truth. You know, trust issues can never be regulated. An issue of lying and not speaking the truth, probably you are not able to regulate them to the extent that you're able to know the condition of the heart of a person when somebody decides not to talk the truth. But in the long run, it catches up with anybody who attempt to really not speak, give the right and the correct information. To the extent that somebody is living abroad and he's not a Kenyan citizen, I think not the question of location is there, yes, but the question of responsibility, and that finally we are able to say that you are Kenyan, and you know, when you hold a dual citizenship and then you are caught up in a political issue, a serious political issue, you can just denounce your Kenyan citizen and then remain with the other. But if you are Kenyan and living abroad, unless you go on asylum, really, if we want to get you back to the country, we'll do that as a government, so that you take political responsibility of whatever action that you may want to hold. But that does not say that we want to really differentiate people who are not living in the country. No, far from it. But it's a question of responsibility, and the question also of the crafting of the law. Should the law be seen to be punitive, then there's always a process, of course, of changing and balancing the law that is provided so that it is more accommodative and helping us to shape our democracy rather than bring it down. So the question of Kenyanness and the goodwill from a Kenyan, what is important, and the fact that you want to engage in a manner to help this country, our country move forward towards the right direction as far as democratic space is concerned.
Asante sana, Mheshimiwa. We're just about to close, but I'll make my final remarks.
Chairman, please, 1 second before you make your final remarks.
Okay.
And please, if you wouldn't mind, can you tell us what do you find challenging in doing your job?
And how can the diaspora help?
Okay. I think the job is challenging just by its own nature, because we are dealing with the politicians and politics in general. And you know, Kenya, and like other countries, we do politicking and we do politics throughout the season. We finish an election today, tomorrow we start the politics, and it goes all the way to the next electoral cycle. So that office is engaged throughout. political situations present themselves every day in a different manner. What you think you knew yesterday, wake up tomorrow to look like something else. So the essence of wanting to be on top of matters, especially when we are dealing with politicians, is very critical to our institution. But as far as you are committed as a Kenyan from the inside and you want to see our country better in terms of democracy, you wake up every day hopeful that the situation will turn out to be best. But what is important to us is implementing the law. That this is a field where people don't want to be regulated and told. So you must be brave to say what is right amidst all that and stick to the law. Sometimes they wake up, attack you and think you are the worst thing that happened in the political scene with all type of words. But the question is, are you brave to see a better future for our country so that you start with what is true and try to tamper politics in a manner that they cannot. Politics will not become the reason why a country can go down. That you really are looking at a peaceful process and wanting to engage and tamper, make sure that everything comes around and every person, regardless, feel that you have treated them fairly in the political process. Because at the end of the day, a human being knows when you are fair to them. Even if you speak the truth that they don't want to hear, finally they are very clear that you are fair. And they'll keep coming and telling you. And later after a storm, they'll actually see the sense that why you are telling them, no, you cannot go beyond here. We have a country to protect here. You cannot go beyond here. You can only behave in this manner. You can only, so when you regulate that, I don't think it's any, we cannot say it's a job without challenges, not even a single day. Every day it's a new day. And with a new challenge presenting, you leave, the coalition has been formed, the following day, people are leaving. You register one party, the following day, somebody wanted to register. Yeah? You work with a group this side and then upper belly, you meet that they want a different story because politics is dynamic. The question is whether you as the registrar and the staff are as dynamic as the politicians themselves. You are able to see beyond what they are seeing and then try to help them also institutionalize politics and institutionalize political parties to be able to be instruments and vehicles of governance. As far as what diaspora can do, I think I said, and I want to repeat, the question of information sharing. And letting every Kenyan know their part so that we separate propaganda from reality. Because I said, and I will say that again, I have participated in the last 4 elections in election management, this being the 4th one. And I have seen over time that part of why intolerance and part of why probably a country can have a disturbed election process is the information flow and the misinformation that happens in the process, so that people believe in totally something that is different. Some of them demonizing some politician, which is not true. And then people believe in those lies. And you demonize a person and finally another group react and demonize another one. In the process, if we are able to clean up our process, and the only way to clean up our processes is by speaking. And diaspora have a voice that you can speak that this is the way we want our country be driven. And this is true, and this is untrue, and this is right, and this is not right. I know for sure, as the saying goes, things get bad when good people keep quiet and they are not able to raise their voice to say what they need to say. So the question of civic engagement is then very important. The other very important issue We see a lot of donors coming to do governance program in our country. Some of them and majority of them coming from US. Some of our programs are funded by USAID, IFACE, and all that. And they're trying to bring information. We believe the Kenyans in diaspora can have programs that are civic in nature in terms of engaging other Kenyans, and through institutions like ours and others, you are able to really put your voice even at the grassroots level to enable Kenyans know that really that you have a voice. We may not have to continually rely on donors that are coming from this country and others to try and support our civic engagement. It is possible because people in diaspora are very informed. They may have slightly more resources than the people who are in the country. They may have knowledge and the know-how that they're able to engage the people at the grassroots level, the communities that you come from, to understand the importance of a country and how to live together as one. And that we, before and after elections, we should be one. And not again, shall we have a repeat.
Thank you very much, Muheshimiwa. You are articulate, you are concise, and you are clear, and you answered most of our questions correctly. Thank you very much for choosing to spend the evening with us. I know it was a tight night, Monday being a working day, and I know you're traveling tomorrow. So we really appreciate for your time. As we look forward towards the elections in a few months, one or two, one sees that there's an increase in independent candidates. So my question to you, even as we close, is having more independent candidates, is having more independent candidates a good thing or a bad thing? Some of us even wonder during the election time, how will the election booklet look like? Previously, there were 2 or 3 presidential candidates. Shall we have more than 20 or 50 or the 88 presidential candidates? That is something we would have loved. I don't know whether you're still there, but that's something we would have loved to hear from you, how the election booklet will look like. There have been an increase in the independent candidates. If you're not there, I think we'll just close and I'll call it a night. Is she there?
I guess the phone failed, Sam. Yeah.
Or the phone failed. But otherwise, I think we'll get her information and we'll reschedule another meeting with her. But otherwise, thank you very much. Thank you, Reverend Samuel Bogwa, for even assisting us in having this discussion. Thank you, everybody who logged in, guys from Ohio, my friend from Georgia, and all you guys who logged in. Have a good night and God bless you, and we'll catch up some other time, and I'll make sure we have a follow-up meeting with this. Otherwise, God bless you and take care. Asante.
Thank you, Sam.
Asante.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sam.
Asante.
Thank you, God bless.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, thank you.